Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Danielle Kirkaby, and I am a customer success manager here at ServiceRocket based in Wilmington, North Carolina. Today, we are going to cover how Atlassian JSM succeeds where ServiceNow falls short in our webinar, a better ITSM platform for a better business. Before we dive into the material, I wanted to share a little more information about us here at ServiceRocket in case you're new. For the last 20 years and more, ServiceRocket has been a leading provider of tech-enabled services, helping fast-growing companies in the acceleration of their growth. You can see here in this map, we have a global footprint and have offices and Rocketeers across the world. We are a Platinum Solution and Platinum Marketplace partner of Atlassian and can offer assistance with all of your needs from software adoption to platform expansion. You have a partner here in ServiceRocket. As mentioned, my name is Danielle, but leading us in today's webinar, we are joined by the amazing Fugi Sim, who is a solutions manager here at ServiceRocket and based in our London office. Fugi, do you want to introduce yourself?
All right, sure. Thanks, Danielle. So welcome everyone to the webinar. My name is Fugi and I'm based in ServiceRocket UK, based out of London. And I'm just excited to be with you today. And hopefully by the end of today's webinar, hopefully I'm convincing enough to make you want to migrate out of ServiceNow immediately after the end of the session. So next slide, please. So let's go quickly over the agenda for today. We will first discuss why having the right ITSM solution matters and the impact that an inflexible ITSM like ServiceNow can do to your business. Then we will discuss what an ITSM solution should have and create the case for migrating to JSM. We will also go over how to pave the way. Oh, back one slide, please, sorry. We will also go over how to pave the way to a successful migration from ServiceNow to JSM while keeping within budget and timelines with little to no impact to your daily operations. And we will then wrap up with a 10-minute Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions at all while I'm going through any of these points, feel free to put them into the Q&A box, and then we can make this session a bit more interactive. All right, next slide. ITSM may sometimes be just an afterthought in your organization. You know, sometimes ITSM is considered a cost center rather than a value add center. So I'm here to show you why that has to change and how an inflexible ITSM solution can hurt your business more than just the licensing costs associated to the tool. So next slide. ITSM, which stands for IT Service Management, is the buzzword that's being thrown around often right now, and for good reason, actually. Remember those famous Twitter and Facebook downtime recently, and then you can see everyone is going pretty crazy with trying to get updates. Imagine if there were no proper status page, because Facebook and Twitter, they had really good status pages to redirect and inform people what's happening. Imagine if there wasn't in place to divert those support requests, or if there were no incident management system to bring those systems back up and running, it would have been chaos. So a good ITSM system is intended to ensure business agility, as per the second point in this slide here. Having systems running smoothly and being able to respond to system issues helps your business continue to operate in an agile manner. How can you do that if the ITSM tool you employ requires 5 clicks just to search for a set of issues related to a specific incident? Or some tools that require complex scripting just to integrate to development tools like GitHub or Bitbucket, or an alerting platform like PagerDuty. Next slide. Beyond licensing costs, you are looking at the inability to integrate to common alerting, asset management, or incident management tools with an inflexible ITSM. Even if you are able to finally integrate these tools together, and I know it is possible, it's just very time-consuming, agents and users will find that they still need to log into multiple different systems to deal with an incident or to work on change requests. A common argument for tools like ServiceNow is it has so many features and it's able to handle whatever we throw at it. That is definitely true. But do you know that a majority of customers, and most of these are our customers as well in Service Rocket, when they use ServiceNow for a year, they will eventually realize that the tool is too complex for their users to take advantage of, or that they do not even use half the features and they're still paying for, and I'm sure you know by now that ServiceNow's licensing cost is really, really high. So the licensing cost alone is enough to make them switch to JSM. But what they don't realize is that switching to JSM is not just about reducing licensing costs. They would realize that they are also saving on the consulting fees that these customers pay just to perform a simple workflow customization, for example. And also all the other added benefits of moving to JSM that we will discuss later. So I personally enjoy working on ServiceNow to JSM transformation projects that I've done many times in the past, mainly because I can always see the smiles on the customers' faces when I let them try on their own. Usually in these workshops where we design JSM together, I let the customer try on their own, like for example, how to create a filter in Jira, how to create a dashboard, how to search for issues, or how to customize a workflow in the workflow editor. And they would just be so excited because they can see that it's so easy and intuitive to configure all of this that they would never look back at ServiceNow again. Most of the features that JSM supposedly do not have at first glance, which is why they selected ServiceNow in the first place, turns out to be something that can be supplemented with apps like EasyBI, or now already comes bundled with Cloud Premium and Enterprise, because Atlassian has made a bunch of acquisitions recently that you need to take note of. And right now, JSM is a different JSM than what you've seen 3 years ago. Next slide. As a summary of what I mentioned earlier, the wrong ITSM tool costs you a lot of extra money on features that you don't need. Consulting fees from the specialized skill set you need just to perform some basic customization, and more time and resources needed to manage the infrastructure or to perform simple actions like building a filter for your support queue. The inability to integrate with vital systems like development tools, example GitHub or Bitbucket, or alerting tools also undermines productivity and efficiency. All of this results in a less agile business, and agility is what we are aiming for in this day and age. Next slide, please. All right, so now that you understand what's at stake here, it's time to create the case for migrating to Atlassian's Jira Service Management by looking at a few key points to move to JSM. Firstly, is your current tool flexible enough to allow customization to the standard workflow? The world has changed and it's no longer okay to say that we'll stick to the standard ITIL workflow, the ITIL standard for all our IT operations. Teams are different and you are different. It's time to remove the old ITIL v3 mindset. And if you notice in ITIL v4, there's no longer that rigid workflow that was suggested in v3. And the v3 mindset that sticks to a rigid workflow, and it's time to adapt to a scalable, customized workflow for your organization. If your current tool does not support this, then I guess it's time to move on. And does the tool provide integration with developer tools like Jira Software? It's no longer okay for IT operations and development to sit in silos, especially right now when we talk about organizations all moving to Agile. This is why DevOps is another term you keep hearing being thrown around, in case this is the first time you're hearing it, which I'm sure is not. Having developers and IT ops work side by side ensures incidents are resolved quickly and root cause of problems are identified and fixed to not have the same situation be repeated in the future. Because what's the point of fixing something one time and having to repeat the fix for multiple incidents? So that's the whole point of why DevOps is important, to make sure that the root cause is fixed from the developer side so that it doesn't result in more and more support issues in the future. Also, does the tool require specific skills to configure or use? I know, for example, that ServiceNow requires a lot of training just for you to know how to configure a workflow itself. And the workflow is not intuitive. Even just to search for issues can be quite complicated in ServiceNow. So if you're still on the fence on these points, I would highly recommend that you start your own trial of JSM and try using it for a week and compare it to ServiceNow. I mean, just simple things like searching for issues or finding a set of issues and doing bulk changes to them. So for example, you have an incident and you have 6 issues created due to the incident. And once they're resolved, try resolving all of them in one action. You can see that it's very easy to do in JSM. You will see very quickly why ServiceNow is just not capable of providing the ITSM efficiencies that your business needs to stay agile in the interconnected webs of your internal and external IT systems. Next slide, please. Did you know that on average, the return on investment is 195% from ServiceNow versus 250% on JSM? And this is not just our random number. This is taken from an actual study, mostly due to the points I mentioned earlier and partly due to the case points that we will discuss in the next slides. And the case points is where we will start to we'll create a case for JSM that you can then try to convince your organization to move towards. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, like I mentioned earlier, dev and IT teams need to work together in an integrated environment for your organization to be effective. Are you getting that now from ServiceNow? This is very important to answer, as the impact of not having this in your tool are miscommunications, incorrect priorities, or miss or delayed fixes. This ultimately leads to additional costs from manual creation of issues or updates between dev and IT queues. So for example, when a bunch of issues are created in the support queue and related to a specific bug, imagine if whatever communication that your support team and your dev team needs to happen is through manual updates through both sides. Then you're getting a lot of miscoms, a lot of inefficiencies. Everything needs to be automated as much as possible. This is one of the principles in agility. A common problem from this integrated dev and IT is also a development team that seems out of touch with customers. Now, how often have you heard that recently? We keep hearing it, especially during the pandemic. Dev teams choosing to build new features that the customer do not want, rather than fixing critical bugs that has been the top of concern from key customers. Just a note that JSM has automation to take care of all of this out of the box. All that configuration, all that integration between JSW and JSM is just amazing. That this automation, like cross-project automation, these are all out of the box right now. And it requires very little knowledge required to get it set up. It's to the point that I've even shown a person that has never seen Jira before how to configure automation, and they can do it within the next 15 minutes. It's really that simple. But if you have trouble setting this up, talk to Service Rocket if you want to learn more on dev and IT automations that you can take advantage of in your Jira deployment. All right, next slide. The biggest selling point in the past for Jira Service Management was its ease of integration with Jira software to encourage strong DevOps collaboration, as we discussed in the previous slide. Well, that is just one of the tiny reasons right now, and I can assure you, some of the, the deciding factor for customers moving to JSM is not even Jira software anymore. Because JSM now comes bundled with Insight Asset Management, status page as well for self-service issue deflection, Confluence for knowledge-based integration, Opsgenie for incident management and alerting, and Proforma for easy and dynamic customer input. It's now a full stack solution, just like ServiceNow in the past. This full stack and it works from one single interface, really, really intuitive. all without the need to employ specialist integration services or to pay for additional licenses if you are on Cloud Premium or Enterprise. It's important to note here that most ITSM tools currently are capable to be integrated with a variety of tools using things like REST API. But at what cost? Usually this will require custom middleware, and the end result of this are increased costs to develop, operate, and maintain the custom integrations. When it comes to custom integrations that require middleware, just know that for sure, few months down the line, the integration will fail and you will need to maintain it and fix some issues with it. And that costs a lot of money and time. And if you don't spend on this, the integration itself, if you don't ever even invest on integrating your tools, then expect to pay the cost down the line from the hours that your employees will need to spend performing manual processes from the lack of integration. Okay, next slide, please. Remember those expensive training costs and the amount of time you need to take your resources out of their regular business hours just to learn how to use ServiceNow at a basic level. In the end, all of the features you once praised ServiceNow for sits untouched, right? Just take a look at your ServiceNow usage right now. We even have people that used to work at ServiceNow that moved to ServiceRocket, and they can tell us, most of the customers on ServiceNow don't even touch half the features. In the end, all of the features you once praised, pretty much untouched, and just another one of those bloated features, just like the Samsung bloatware apps in your Samsung phone. What your team needs from a tool is not a plethora of features. They just need to work and collaborate effectively. JSM offers that out of the box, and you can always add on additional features as needed in the future if you need them. And even if you answered no to a single question from the case points we highlighted here and earlier, it's not hard to justify the business cost of switching from ServiceNow to Atlassian JSM. The amount a migration will cost will be far outweighed by the savings you will experience year over year by gaining one or more of the benefits afforded by JSM. Next slide, please. All right, once you've built a strong case for JSM, which we've done earlier already in the slides, it's time to bring in some expertise to get you there. And ServiceRocket can provide the help you need to assess your readiness by determining your current ServiceNow usage. And then we can identify key pain points, the risks, opportunities, as well as estimate the hours needed to migrate to JSM with little or no business impact. And that's the key point over here. Then it's time to take the next step and build a list of future state requirements. This is where ServiceRocket shines as a reliable partner to take you there, and why a lot of our customers choose us over other partners. We're not just good at lift and shift, in which we mirror JSM to your current ServiceNow functionality and migrate all current issues. I mean, we're good at that, but we're not just good at that. We're also good at transforming the way you work with JSM. Because transformation is definitely something you need to take advantage of with JSM. You're not just there to re-mirror whatever you did in the past. Because JSM is, I can tell you, it's a more powerful tool than ServiceNow for your team. Take this time to identify additional requirements that will make it easier for your team to collaborate effectively, or ways to deflect issues with status page and Confluence knowledge base articles. Determine also the future state user management. Do you want to take advantage of single sign-on so that your users can log in way easier to all tools within your organization with just one login? Which users are agents, customers, or developers? And how many licenses would you need? And this is another cool feature, is that JSM customers, so customers in JSM do not require a license, which is another way to reduce your licensing costs. Identify also any additional apps that you may want to install on top of JSM, which would either help to add or mirror functionalities that you already have in ServiceNow that you deem to be critical. And next slide, please. Thank you. Did you know that on average, it's only 1.57 months to go live with JSM versus 5.19 months with ServiceNow? The ease of integration, the ease of customization, configuration, all adds up to make sure you start your return on investment much quicker than you would with JSM. This is an average go live time, by the way. All right, next slide, please. And now it's time to figure out how to pave the way for a successful migration. The best way to ensure a smooth transition from ServiceNow to JSM is to capture all of the moving pieces. And we have identified 4 vectors which encapsulate the majority of those moving parts. This is dubbed the BANT network, B-A-N-T. Answering these questions in all of these 4 vectors will help ensure you are well informed about the scope of the migration so you stay on time and on budget. In regards to budget, previous slide, sorry. All right, in regards to budget, identify which line of business or department will pay for the migration and the total amount available for this project. Then with authority, identify who has the financial authority to sign off on the migration and what are the roles and responsibilities needed to ensure the success of the migration. And when it comes to need, identify your current ServiceNow usage. Are there any specific functionality or apps that you currently define as business critical? Figure out the main driving factor for the move to JSM. What problems are solved and what benefits are gained by the move to JSM? And there's many. So if you go and dig into this, you will find that there are so many benefits to be gained from moving to JSM. And finally, in regards to timeline, what is the time frame or critical milestones that is related to the migration? And what is driving this timeline? Is it due to an upcoming ServiceNow license renewal? Because usually that's the one that is driving our customers' timeline. All right, next slide, please. Build use cases that clearly identify what's needed. For example, the functionality from within the software and functionality enabled through integration with external applications and how people will use it, i.e. the processes. A good use case that encompasses process functionality and integration is, for example, this is a very common example. For example, you have a server that goes down in your organization and you want your alerting tool to do this each time this happens. So this server goes down, it will automatically trigger an alert to a team of responders. And you will want, in this kind of scenario, you want only specific individuals to respond based on a schedule or a roster. And then a status page, because of this downtime, will be automatically updated to show the list of services that is down right now, so that issues are deflected by users being informed through status page without the need to reach out to support. IT operations can then link a bug with a set of incidents that are raised in regards to this downtime so that developers can start working on the bug, identify the root cause, and resolve, in which automatically resolves all related incidents without the need for support agents to individually comment on each of them. This is one use case that is accomplished natively with JSM, and it's one of the more common use cases why people are moving to JSM due to the integration that is now native with Insight, Status Page, and Ops Genie. All right, next slide, please. Remember that your business is always evolving. When you selected the original system, which is ServiceNow probably, your business may have operated quite differently, which is why it was chosen in the first place. Now that you have chosen to migrate to a newer, more flexible solution, don't miss out on the opportunity to improve things like collaboration and innovation made possible through JSM. As part of the Atlassian suite, JSM is integrated with over 5,000 applications in the Atlassian marketplace. That means you can implement integration to systems that may not have been able to do while you were using ServiceNow. It also means that you can replace all the manual workarounds you had to implement with ServiceNow. And also, I can tell you that whatever you can imagine, whatever functionality you can imagine, usually there is an app in Atlassian Marketplace to support it due to this. And so all of these factors together, and you can now think about ways to enable other parts of your business with JSM functionality. ServiceNow can help you identify and implement these opportunities as part of its methodology. This is the opportunity for transformation. All right, we have some questions. How long does it usually take for SN to JSM migration, depending on the size and the use case? It can be as short as a month to as long. The shortest we've done is actually 1 month, and it can be as long as a year. And the longest we did was a year, and that was because we have to migrate assets, we have to recreate all of the functionality related to the assets, and we have to re-customize Jira completely from start to end. And that's the problem with why we always advise to transform instead of lift and shift, because the one with 1 year was a lift and shift because they want to mirror all functionality in ServiceNow in JSM to the point that it's one-to-one, looks pretty much similar. And that's the reason why it took so long. It's important to focus on transformation. Don't get hung up on just trying to keep your old functionality, because JSM, if you transform, like the customer that did it for a month, they ended up using JSM in the most rewarding way, and they managed to save a lot on their licenses, and also their team is right now way more efficient and they can see more metrics. Would you imagine? The other question is, what other Atlassian apps or tools are usually needed to go along with JSM? Which do you recommend? I would say EasyBI is definitely needed, EasyBI. And the other thing is JSU, Jira Suite Utilities. If you have those together, it is really powerful. It does most of what ServiceNow can offer. In the past, I would even recommend Insight as well, Insight Asset Management, but right now Insight, Proforma, all of these tools is now bundled with JSM, so you don't have to repurchase those, which is great. So right now, the only thing you need to focus on, EasyBI, probably, JSU. You can even throw in advanced roadmaps if you want to, but it's not necessary. And also, if you want like that great DevOps relationship, then definitely Jira Software needs to be there. Would you be able to show us the JSM GUI? Oh, unfortunately, we do not have a demo instance today. That's something that, yeah, but we can link you to a bunch of JSM demo YouTube videos after the end of the session. And those will give you a rough idea of how JSM looks like. And at the same time, feel free to go to atlassian.com and click on Jira Service Management, and then start a free trial. You can start a free trial, no problem. And you can even start a free for life JSM instance to play around if you want to. So go ahead and try a free, when they're asking you what type of JSM you want, just select free. And you can use that instance for life for free. For your customers who have moved from ServiceNow to JSM, how long does it take to see the benefit? Oh, we heard this from one, the customer that we did for a month, they saw the benefits immediately, and they said they will never look back at ServiceNow. That was one customer. For other customers that have been, when it comes to ROI, return on investment, they mentioned that despite the consulting fees that we were charging them, and also the fact that they still have to pay for the dual licensing for a while we do the transfer, while we do the migration. These two factors, despite that, they were looking at a 4 months return on investment. To break even based on what they were paying for ServiceNow. So I would say it's a really good investment that you need to look into. If you want to know more, we can do a free assessment for you. And in this assessment, we can even determine how long it will take for you to break even. Because it really depends on your usage, and different customers have different break-even time. So feel free to reach out to us and we can do that assessment for you and figure out how long it will take. What is the hardest part of the migration from ServiceNow to Atlassian? I think the hardest part is probably assets. And one thing about ServiceNow is also it has this very customizable, a very customizable customer portal that can take time to recreate in Jira Service Management, but it is possible through an app called Refine. So Refine is extra, it's very cheap compared to what you're paying on ServiceNow. And with Refine, you can then customize. That part is usually the hardest, but the rest very easy. Even if you're thinking about BI being one of the reasons why you cannot move away from ServiceNow, I can tell you easy BI, very, very cheap, and really, really powerful, very easy to configure, and you can rebuild most of your reports in no time. So not a problem. Thank you for the questions. Those were good questions. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right. Can you afford missteps? Like any migration, little missteps can have far-reaching effects, like extended timelines, budgets pushed beyond acceptable limits, or missed outcome. Without the right expertise, it's difficult to foresee the challenges that might arise or how to address them. That's where partnering with a company with a proven track record, with a proven track record of successful migrations and transformations like ServiceRocket can help. At no cost to you, like I mentioned just now, ServiceRocket can help with any of your need and readiness to migrate. We can even look at your ServiceNow and figure out whether it will be a risky move for you to migrate. These will all come at no cost, so feel free to reach out to us for that. We will then perform a thorough discovery to understand current state, which is how you're using ServiceNow right now, and provide the recommended strategy and plan for the migration. This is then followed by our legendary project management and technical expertise to ensure smooth migration implementation and launch of Jira Service Management. And we don't just stop there. ServiceRocket can also provide training and support, as we are an authorized Atlassian training provider, and post-production support as well through our managed services offering. Finally, with our proven change management expertise, ServiceRocket consultants can help you navigate future changes better by defining the steps and processes that can help the new system scale better as your organization grows. All right, and with that said, that's it for today's presentation. I will now address some of the questions that you may have raised. I know I've addressed some of them, but if you have further questions from or whatever I mentioned is not clear, then I can address them as well. Sorry, Daniel.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say we do have another one that came in. What if I also want to move to cloud when we move away from ServiceNow?
I would recommend moving to cloud straight away from ServiceNow. Yeah, that's what our customers usually do. It's no problem. The move to cloud is straightforward from ServiceNow. It's actually better than the move to data center. With data center, there's a few more things we have to configure before it will take your ServiceNow issues properly. So yeah, move to cloud, my advice. I
don't know if we have any other questions. As Kugi said, thank you everyone so much for, we do have another question. Is there a provision or solution where external customers can log in to Jira Service Management, since we are thinking of moving to Jira Service Management?
So with Jira Service Management, that's a good question, by the way. So external customers are not required to be licensed, they can log into Jira Service Management, but to the customer portal. So they will have a customer portal where they can look at all the issues that they raise or issues that are raised by the same organization. For example, let's say, for example, we have a customer called Acme Corp, right? There's like 6,000 users in Acme Corp, and they are all using my app, right, to do their day-to-day, and suddenly my app goes down. So what they would do is then, out of these 6,000 users, all of them have the ability to raise an issue in Jira Service Management, and you don't need to license all 6,000 users as licensed JSM users because they are essentially customers. And then they can raise that issue, and all 6,000 users can actually look at that issue and work together if you want it, and that will work. So yeah, customer portal would be my advice. This is not an additional solution. This comes out of the box with Jira Service Management. There is another option, which is if you want to use Refine, then you can have a more customized customer portal. But I don't recommend doing too much right now. Just focus on just using JSM out of the box, and you'll see that it actually caters to all of your needs. But if you want more functionality, remember we have 5,000 apps on Atlassian Marketplace. So whatever you can think of that you want extra, there's usually an app for it. You just have to install it, and it's, even if you install a bunch of apps, JSM with those apps, the licensing cost in total would still be probably half or less than a quarter of what you're paying to ServiceNow.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for the questions, and Fugi for an amazing presentation as always. As you guys can see on my screen, our contact info is there. If anyone wants to reach out and has any additional questions or needs any help, we are here to support you. We got your back in any way that we can. Thank you again for dialing in, and I hope everyone has a good rest of their day.